America saw this debate last night. The panel stays, but this is another key question I want to get into with our guests. You have many swing state voters looking at this, the final month of the election cycle. And one question is, after you go Trump, do you ever go back? In entertainment and politics, Trump's never been a broadly popular figure. He's no Oprah. But Trump has a small and fervently dedicated following. So it does matter how people break away, what the off-ramp is, as Anthony Scaramucci just mentioned, as these colleagues of ours here from Donald Trump are going to get into. So I want to put a little bit more evidence on the table. When you look at not just these famous politicos, but lesser-known Americans, there are many who start out liking Donald Trump, believing him only to learn it was a con. And before politics, that included people who believed Trump would do what he said. Small business entrepreneurs back in 2005 who believed Trump would be personally involved in backing a marketing company they had when he never even showed up. And they sued him for fraud and false advertising. Trump fans who believed that Donald Trump was doing public works through his charity, which was literally shut down and fined for conning them because it was all a lie. Or, of course, the many Trump fans who spent up to $35,000 to get classes from Trump at Trump University, where they found out it was a fraud. No Trump there to do any teaching or classes, no university to speak of. Something that actually converted the most loyal type of Trump fan, someone willing to spend their own money to just be with him, into a con victim seeking justice. This is the boom-bust cycle we've seen of Trumpism. I say that not as a political observation, but as the evidence from Trump's own former fans, former fervent supporters, whose feelings often curdle into people who find themselves repulsed and repelled in the end.
Former Defense Secretary James Mattis condemning President Trump, accusing the president of deliberately trying to divide Americans.
The president's worst impulses can't be ameliorated.
If you Google the word sociopath, you'll get the first list will be the 10 key qualities of a sociopath. That is a perfect description of Donald Trump.
I liked working for him, but when I saw how he talked about us when he started his presidency, I felt humiliated.
The entire program was smoke and mirrors.
Do those stories of smoke and mirrors apply to this election? There are some echoes here. There's a farmer, Rick Tellis, who spoke out about regretting his vote for Trump and even spoke at the DNC. And there's data showing a portion of Americans defecting out of the Trump bubble. For example, did you know that in battleground states, now about 1 out of 20 Trump voters, 6% of his 2016 supporters, say they will not have any chance of backing him again? We turn that process to each of you, starting with Tony. What is specific to the support that Trump endears that then is important to understand if someone's going to break away?
Look, first of all, it's mostly men. You know, women are overwhelmingly against Trump. Men are for him. There's a disease that especially afflicts men. And most of all, men who grow up with a feeling of not being good enough. And it's the disease of trying to win from the outside world through money and power and fame, the love and recognition that was missing for them when they grew up in their own families. It's the heart of why Trump does what he does. He's still trying to prove his worth to his daddy. It's the story I tell about myself in dealing with the devil. I suspect it's true. I don't know, but I suspect it's true for Michael and Anthony. I've reckoned with it over the past 30 years. Trump hasn't. And the reckoning is why I feel such joy in giving away my royalties from the art of the deal to people and causes that can serve a greater good. So in my case, over the next month, I'll donate my next tranche of royalties, as I've donated all royalties from the art of the deal since Trump was elected, to Joe Biden and to Democrats fighting for Republican Senate seats and to causes that Trump hates. It's my way of getting Trump to support what he hates.
Anthony?
I think there's a lot of truth to that. You know, I grew up in a blue collar neighborhood. You know, my parents did give me a lot of love, but we were hustling. We were hustling for in a tight budgeted family, and I was out to do well and try to live the American dream. And I read the book that Tony wrote. I told him that when I was about 23 years old, and I was inspired by it. And so for me, when I met Mr. Trump, and Michael did introduce me to him, I had this feeling about him that, okay, this is a doer. This is a guy that can get things done. And then more time I spent with him, I saw him as a raconteur. And then when we were on the campaign together, Michael could attribute to this, he was way more relaxed on the campaign because he didn't think he was going to win the presidency. When he got to the presidency,
so let me push on that point, because you're answering specifically what Tony raises to Anthony and then to Michael. Anthony, did you feel that associating yourself with Trump, in your case personally, but for many other Americans it's at a distance, did it make you feel bigger or better about yourself initially?
Well, I would have to be honest with that and say no in the beginning, but when he won the presidency, yes. The presidency, that's where I made my mistake. My ego and my pride kicked in. And when your ego and pride kicks in, Ari, your emotions go up and your intelligence goes down. And so, yes, when he won the presidency, I was attracted to the idea of working in the White House. I have to live with that and reckon with that for the rest of my life, because he was the wrong man to go to work for or work with, but not in the beginning, because I had already had a very good career. I was hosting a show on the Fox Business Channel, and I just thought it was going to be a lot of fun to be a part of the campaign. But when he made the transition to the presidency, the answer to that question is a very honest yes.
And so, Michael, the same question to you, which you explore in the book, do you ever feel like you're speaking to your past self when you speak, as people are listening to you now on this program, your book, your podcast? You're speaking sometimes towards people who are where you were a few years ago in terms of how they support Trump.
Yeah. Just to talk about what Tony had brought up, I grew up in a very loving home, and my relationship, even to this day, with my father is unbreakable. I love the man. I was never looking for a replacement father. What Trump was more like a patriarch. It's a little bit different. But what really enticed me wasn't the money, like Judge Pauly used to say, or what he said at my sentencing. It had nothing to do with the money. Like Anthony and Tony, I was very successful. I had done very well early on in my career. What attracted me, and I believe this is what attracts most America, is the stardom. It's that celebrity fame that he brings. It's the, I'm going to live my life larger than you could ever imagine. You know, I went out, you may remember, to Ohio, for him. I took the 727 by myself. And when I landed, they asked me, Mr. Cohen, what are you doing here? I came to just check out the first in caucus state. Well, why'd you take Mr. Trump's 727? Well, he wouldn't let me use the 757, right? I mean, this was the life. I was on the board of Miss Universe organization. The business card, big, thick cardboard with the gold. It's the celebrity power that he brings. It's the, I'm going to live my life, larger than life. And that was something that attracted me.